Okay, let's talk about something huge. China's Double 11, the single biggest shopping day on the planet. But we're not here to just talk about crazy sales numbers. We're here to talk about a massive, fundamental shift. How this giant sale stopped being about just cheap prices and turned into something way more interesting, a full-blown content marathon. So let's get into it.
And that really brings us to the big question, right? How on earth did a one-day sale, a 24-hour blitz, somehow stretch into a 2-month-long event? I mean, just a few years back, it was already 37 days. Now, it's 60 days! This isn't just about giving people more time to shop. No, this is a sign that the entire game has changed. So what's really going on here? Well, it's because Double 11 isn't really a day anymore. It's not even a festival. The official name for it now is the National Consumption Season. And that little change in wording, it's everything. It completely moves the goalposts from just making a quick sale to keeping you engaged for weeks on end. It sets the stage for a totally different kind of strategy.
To really get it, you gotta look at how we got here. It all started back in 2009 as this quirky little Singles Day thing. Then, smartphones and mobile shopping blew it up globally. But the real pivot, the game changer, happened around 2016. That's when live streaming came in and the sales started getting longer. And now, we're in what they call the sustainable era, where things like AI aren't just helping out, they're running the whole show.
So this is the most important thing to understand. We're talking about two totally different playbooks. The old way was a 24-hour sprint. The goal was super simple, sell as much as possible. And the main weapon? Price wars, to slash prices. But the new way? It's a 60-day marathon. The goal isn't just sales, it's about brand exposure, launching new stuff, and the focus is all on content and engagement happening across the entire social media landscape.
Okay, so if content is the new weapon of choice, what does that playbook actually look like? Well, it turns out that winning in this new environment really comes down to mastering 4 specific kinds of content. Let's break them down. First up, you've got knowledge content. This stuff is all about one thing: being genuinely useful. Think of those super practical, in-depth guides that answer the 2 biggest questions every shopper has. What should I even buy? And how do I make sure I'm getting a good deal? The whole point here is to cut through all the chaos and make the decision-making process way, way easier for people.
And let me show you a perfect example of this in action. Take a creator like Wilson. This guy doesn't just review a washing machine. He creates these incredibly detailed, systematic guides. He'll compare data, do deep analysis. He'll even literally tear the machine apart to show you what's inside. That level of hardcore expertise, it builds an insane amount of trust, which is absolutely critical when you're helping someone decide on a big, expensive purchase.
All right, next up we have emotional content. So if knowledge content is for the brain, this stuff is all for the heart. It's all about creating a real connection, whether that's through a funny video, a relatable story, or showing an aspirational lifestyle. The goal here is just to make people feel something, because that feeling is often way more powerful and memorable than a simple discount code.
And the creator, Mao Maoji, is the absolute queen of this. I mean, 34 million followers? Her whole thing isn't about selling products. It's about making these hilarious and super relatable skits about how crazy the whole Double 11 experience is. She taps into that shared feeling so well that people call her a Zui Ti, which basically means she's a voice for the people. It's this incredible emotional release, and it's just magnetic. Now, taking that expertise we talked about to the next level, you get educational content. In China, they call this Keipu. This isn't just a basic how-to, this is the PhD level stuff. We're talking scientific deep dives that demystify complicated ingredients in your skincare or explain the complex tech inside your new phone. It's all about building undeniable authority through transparency. A fantastic example is Dad Reviews. These guys aren't just influencers. They're a legitimate product testing organization. They run lab tests, they show you the data, they give you hardcore scientific proof. In a market that's just flooded with marketing claims, having this kind of professional, unbiased authority is pure gold. You just can't buy that kind of trust.
And that leads us to our last category, which is probably the most direct when it comes to sales: seeding content. The term in Chinese is zongchao, which literally means planting grass. And that's the perfect way to think about it. The idea is to plant a little seed of desire in your mind. It's the product reviews, the recommendations, the tutorials that feel really authentic because they're woven right into a creator's lifestyle content.
The creator, Chen Wo-sun, is an absolute master of this. Her reviews are super high energy, they're emotional, but they are also packed with useful information. She hones right in on what you actually care about. Does it work? Is it really worth the money? And by mixing that emotional delivery with practical details, she creates this powerful sense of authenticity that makes people really trust her recommendations.
So, we've gone through the what, the 4 types of content that are winning right now. But let's dig into the why. Why did this whole shift happen in the first place? Why is a funny video now potentially worth more than a 50% off coupon? Well, the answer is all about the psychology of today's consumer.
You'd think the #1 reason people buy something is because of the price. But check this out. When you ask people why a piece of content made them buy something, the top answer at over 27% was emotional influence. The vibe, the atmosphere of the content just got to them. Right behind that was clear guidance that made it easier to decide. Price is still in the mix, for sure, but it's clearly not the only thing or even the main thing anymore.
And you have to think about where we're all spending our time. A mind-blowing 57.5%, that's way more than half of us, are spending over 2 hours on social media every single day. That's not a small niche. That is a massive, captive audience just waiting to be engaged, not just advertised to.
And the effect of reaching people there is just undeniable. When brands do social media content right, they see their brand awareness shoot up by 2.4 times. It's about becoming part of someone's daily scroll, long before they're even thinking about hitting that Add to Cart button. And it doesn't just stop at awareness, it hits the bottom line. That exact same content can boost a person's intention to actually buy something by 1.5 times. So you're not just getting your name out there, you are actively creating the desire to purchase, all through great content.
This quote really just nails it, doesn't it? The game has fundamentally changed. It's not just a transaction anymore. Here's a product, here's a price. It's become relational. People are buying into a story. They're buying into an expert they trust. They're buying into a feeling.
So what does this all mean when you put it together? What's the big takeaway for the future? This isn't just a quirky trend happening during one shopping event. This is basically a blueprint for a whole new way of doing business.
Look, if you remember one thing from this, make it this. Double 11 is not a price war anymore. It is a war for attention. And in a war for attention, having the lowest price just can't compete with having the most compelling story, the most trusted advice, or the video that makes everyone laugh.
And that brings us to the final crucial point. In this new world, you have to stop thinking about content as just the advertisement for the product. For the person scrolling through their feed during the 60-day marathon, the content, that guide, that review, that story, is the first product they consume, and it's what's going to decide everything else they buy.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. As AI gets smarter and smarter at creating perfectly personalized content just for you 24/7, and as shopping gets woven more and more seamlessly into that content, what happens then? Does the whole idea of a shopping festival just go away? Does every single day become its own perfectly tailored, content-driven shopping experience? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.